All right, guys, former Bachelor Colton Underwood's new book, The First Time, is available now, and its release date comes on the heels of him being diagnosed with coronavirus. I caught up with him, and he shared with me how he's been doing. Take a look. You were just telling me a second ago that you've just gotten kind of the all clear to be able to leave literal quarantine. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, obviously I tested positive for the coronavirus, and my battle with it was about 5 or 6 days. So I was very, very lucky and fortunate that it was manageable from home. I got on medicines right away, and I made a full, what I would consider a full recovery so far. And yesterday was my first day to sort of be able to be allowed, per the CDC and all the rules, to be able to go for walks and go back for runs around town. So still practicing social distancing, but I'm at least excited that I could leave the 3rd bedroom story of the Randolph's home.
Man, it's pretty wild. Just to kind of give an idea, because I don't know, I feel like we're learning more. Seems like it would be very scary, especially because it's kind of new and we're sort of all discovering what this all means. What did it look like for you at the beginning?
Well, it was scary. In the very, very beginning, it was just a headache and some body aches, which I thought was a little off for me, but I didn't know because I was still working out and training hard. And then I think when I started having night sweats and the shortness of breath, that's when it got real for me. And it got a little more serious. But like I said, I was very, very fortunate and lucky to find a doctor out here in out Orange County, Huntington Beach area, that prescribed medicines and treated me right away.
That's great. And so you're currently doing better. You've been living in Cassie's family's home, right? You mentioned you're on the 3rd floor.
Yeah. Kind
of in your own spot. But look, house full of people, obviously, hopefully kind of a large house. But what's that process been like for you?
It's been a challenge, but you know what? They've been so great, and they've all been really just working on having gloves and masks when I was sick. So they did a really good job of following all the guidelines that everybody put out. And I think that's honestly what allowed them to stay healthy throughout all of this.
Yeah.
And just following all the guidelines and being sort of strict with that was really important.
Last thing about that, and then we'll get into the book. What's one thing that you've learned about the illness, the coronavirus, kind of the process now that you're on the other end of it, that you think everyone should know?
Well, I think it was important for me to speak out just because at the time there were so many different media reports on what it was, who it was affecting, what it did, what the symptoms were. And for me, I just felt like sharing my story and my perspective and my side of things of, hey, I'm a 28-year-old healthy dude who tries to live his life very healthy, and it knocked me on my butt. So it was important for me to get that message out. And then also early on, just share, stay at home. I think at the time that I caught it, there were still spring breakers partying in Florida and saying if they get it, it's no big deal. And meanwhile, I'm gasping for air and trying to catch my breath after walking to the bathroom. So I just wanted to share that message that, hey, we need to take this serious. If you're not doing it for yourself, do it for somebody you love. Do it for your grandma, your grandpa, your mom, and your dad.
Colton also spilled the tea on all the things you can expect from his new book. Watch this. You know that there's going to be scrutiny, right? You know there's going to be a lot of pickup on those pieces of it. So was it kind of a question to you, like, should I, go into these areas or not?
Weirdly enough, it was actually just the opposite. I understand that people were going to gravitate and grab onto that, but at least I was in control of the narrative. And I felt like that was what was so cool and sort of therapeutic about writing this book, is that I'm taking back control of my story in my life, whereas I gave that up when I was, making a TV show. So for me to sort of open up and say, hey, this is what I've been through. This is where I've struggled. Of course, the sexuality thing has been sort of headlines right now, which I didn't expect, but I feel like it was important to share. I feel like that was a part of my story of being bullied, and almost, I think people can resonate with, once you hear something so many times, it starts to mess with you. It starts to be like, you start questioning yourself. You start questioning what you stand for, what you believe in, what you want out of life.
Yeah, when you open up about bullying, about identity, sexuality, things like that, some of those things are, unfortunately, it's generally things that men don't talk about a ton, right? I mean,
No.
It seems to be the kind of thing that guys kind of keep on the sideline. For you, how did you overcome those hurdles? I mean, you obviously are speaking out about it, but what was it for you that allowed you to get to a place where you're like, wow, okay, I've got control of this. I know who I
I mean, to be very frank with you, I mean, I still think I struggle with it every once in a while. And I think when I look back, I look at the culture that I was raised in, and nothing against my family or, the religion or the conservative values that I hold and the locker room environment. I was just always around hyper masculine culture, and it wasn't cool to speak out about emotions. It wasn't cool to, to be open about your struggles. And I didn't really have anybody to talk to, so I internalized a lot of that. And I think by obviously sharing that with people, hopefully it resonates, and people will have courage to speak up and admit when they're struggling or have somebody to talk to. I wish that I could have. I wish that I could have had the courage to talk to somebody about it. I don't know who I would have talked to, but at least speak out and not internalize all of it, because that's not the healthiest thing for you to do.
Is there going to be anything else that you talk about and reveal in this book that's going to shock Bachelor Nation specifically?
As far as the book goes, I mean, obviously there's a lot of behind the scenes. I didn't want to write about something that you guys just watched on TV.
Right.
So it's more so like behind the scenes, what went into making a certain episode. I reveal that I showered in 5 different bathrooms in one day. It's like, I mean, in little moments, I give a breakdown of like sort of code words that I use, because I didn't want people to know exactly production-wise. We didn't want people to know when I had to use a restroom or anything like that. So there's a little bit of like dangling things there, but nothing really spiteful against the franchise at all. I obviously went on the show looking for love, and I found love, and I found so much more. So I'm very, very happy about that.
Coming out of the book is you opening up about your relationship with Allie Raisman and how she ended up breaking up with you over FaceTime. It was heartbreaking, right? I mean, that feels like that would be a tough moment. When you think back about that time, in hindsight, what is, as you're kind of reliving it, was that a tough experience for you, or is it something that you've dealt with and it's kind of done?
No, that was actually the first time I really actually dealt with that. Because even my time on The Bachelor, I had it written into my contract that they couldn't bring that up or they couldn't talk about that. And that was more so just to protect her with everything she's going on. And I have so much respect and love for her, because, she is a leader in today's society, and she's somebody who openly stands out and speaks her mind, which you have to value. And for me, I think reliving that sort of helped with the closure side of things, because I didn't get a whole ton from her at the end of that relationship. So I wish her all the best and all the well for her, but it was important for me to sort of close that chapter and get my closure.
Of course, we know Claire Crawley is the next Bachelorette, and production is currently on hold due to the coronavirus outbreak. But Colton shared with me what he's looking forward to most from that new season.
You know what? I haven't watched the last 2 seasons, admittedly. I sort of had a little bit of PTSD, but I'm excited. I think Claire's going to be a great Bachelorette. And I think if anybody's going to sort of shake things up and get the show back to focusing on love more than a TV show, it's going to be her.